Yes, we are hearing you. Dr. Hindri. Dr. Tangong, ahlan wa sahlan. I think we met before, Dr. Tangong, right?
Where?
On any webinar or virtually we met.
We supposed to start at 1 time, Makkah time, 2:15. So there's only 3 minutes to start, 3 minutes to go.
Yeah.
I don't know who else is online there. Dr. Umar Hafiz, you are there.
This is the voice of Zain al-Abidin, right?
Yes.
MashaAllah, I don't see you on the.
Oh, okay, I should switch it on.
He is hiding. He is hiding because of
my screen. Okay, it should come on now.
Yes, we can see your outlaw.
Okay.
Out of South Africa.
Yes, providing development.
Dr. Umar.
Yes.
I am using background Ali Imran verse 92.
Yes.
Oh, MashaAllah. So you are MashaAllah becoming a very old and important man.
This is the ayat about Waqf.
Yes, absolutely.
Waqf is barakah always.
Yeah. Okay, who else do we have there?
Muaz also.
Yes.
Shamsia is there. Okay.
Shamsia is there.
Assalamu alaikum, Shamsia.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Kak Shamsia, apa kabar?
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
You are still mute. Your microphone still mute, Kak Shamsia.
Waalaikumsalam, sorry. I want to do my prayers. Mr. Zainul, I need to do my prayers. 5 minutes will be Maghrib in Singapore.
Yes.
So what time is the actual discussion on?
No, it will start in about a minute. We're about to start. So you can perform your Maghrib and then just rejoin as soon as possible. Okay.
Sure.
So from among the speakers at the moment, we don't have everybody online there. That's the problem. So you need to do your salah. I don't want to hurry you, but you have to do it as quickly as possible because we are ready to start now, but we don't have all the speakers that we're supposed to have online at the moment. So we'll basically start with whoever we have. And I just want to ask the director there, the engineer, Muaz, whether we are ready to start.
Kak Shamsia, baca ayatnya jangan panjang-panjang, pendek-pendek saja baca ayatnya.
Iya. Bina pun 3 minit aja dia kasih. Saya di office ini masih belum balik.
Yeah. I saw you wear mask, so I thought that you are in the office.
Yeah, in the office. Ayo.
Dr. Shamsia.
Muaz, are we ready to start?
Wait. What happened?
Dr. Shamsia, how are you?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah.
You know what is Shamsia means in Arabic?
Of course. Yeah, payung.
Yes. MashaAllah.
Hey, where's my Zoom now?
Okay.
MashaAllah, Dr. Sami, how are you?
حياك الله دكتور, الله يسلمك, الله يبارك فيك. Brother Muaz, ready?
Yeah.
Kerry, we are ready. in the room. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Yes, yes,
Salam
yes.
rahmatullah, Dr. Hisham.
Yes, all of them. Yes, all of them. All of them.
Okay, microphone with you,
Yes.
Brother Zainul.
Yeah, okay. Can we?
Okay.
Abdul Halim Zaidan, how are you, brother?
Welcome.
One still missed from Australia.
Okay, I think.
This Dr. Amir, mashallah, we have here also.
Okay.
Brother Zainul.
Dr. Shamsia, Dr. Rawa, Dr. Henry is here, Dr. Abdurrahman Haqqi, Dr. Anwar Ragamoda, Sheikh Muhammad Jalaluddin, and Professor Madhya Amir. Amir is there with us. Okay.
I think there is the sister Rawa.
I think you'll have to mute everybody now so that we can start, and then just give me the microphone, please.
Okay, microphone with you.
Okay. Microphone, please.
Okay, microphone with you.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to everyone who have joined us today on this beautiful Friday, nice warm day and sunny day here in South Africa, in Johannesburg. And I hope the same everywhere else with all of you. And I hope everybody is in good health with our COVID situation. We are really in a very difficult situation at the moment with very high rates at the moment. But all the same, alhamdulillah, all well. So just to give you a very brief background. So this is the webinar that is focusing on Southeast Asia and Australia. And we're talking about Waqf. We're talking about the rules and regulations and the laws that govern Waqf in the various countries. We'll be talking about investments and their returns and yields and types of investments and so forth that are prevalent in those countries. And then we'll talk about the challenges facing us in those countries. We also will have two respondents, Dr. Hisham Dafterdar and Dr. Umar Hafiz. Dr. Hisham is based in Bahrain and Dr. Umar Hafiz is in Saudi Arabia. Both and all the speakers out there are all highly qualified, and I'm not going to give each one's CVs because I think they're all very, very long. And alhamdulillah, I think each one, either in the academic field or in practical terms, have made big contributions in the Waqf sector. So just to recap how we are proceeding, each of the speakers, the 7 speakers, will be given about 3 minutes each just to talk about their countries, their rules and regulations governing Awqaf and Waqf in their countries. After that, the next section will be on the investment profiles, the investment types, and each speaker will be given, again, 3 minutes to complete that. And then thereafter, each speaker will talk about. So with that, we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and we start now. I think I haven't got a specific order, but I think if Dr. Amir is ready, then perhaps we could talk about Malaysia. And let's start off with Malaysia. So can I invite Dr. Amir, who is also a senior person in the academic field. He's also part of the Yayasan Malaysia. So over to you, Dr. Madhya Amir.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very glad to join this conference. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Prof. Zainul Abidin, and all the speakers from various countries. And to the organizer, I'm very gratitude to all of you to invite me to share our experience in managing Awqaf properties and assets in Malaysia. Okay, just to share with all of speakers and participants, in Malaysia, Awqaf is regulated under the state. In Malaysia, we have 14 states. So we adopt or we practice decentralized system, meaning that we don't have a federal system who control us, but the management of Awqaf is under the jurisdiction of state. So as I said, we have 14 states. Then these 14 states, each of them, they have variance. They differ and they are varied in terms of their capacity because each of the state, they have their own management team. That's why I suppose that this is one of our challenges. So we can see that when we have 14 states, means that 14 institutions who manage our Awqaf, then the capacity is different. Some states is advanced in managing the Awqaf asset, but some states are very not so proactive. So we have many idle Awqaf asset need to be developed. So that's the one. The second one, when the authority of the Awqaf is belong to the state, we see the variance of enactment because in terms of the regulation, each of the state, they have differences in managing the Waqaf. So some states, they have their own or specific law regulation for the Awqaf, but some did not have any regulation or they just depend on the general enactment or general rules pertaining to the religious council. So this is also, again, the challenges that we face in Malaysia. So in short, I can say that our system in Malaysia, we are a decentralized system. So that's why the government, when they see this happen, they create or they establish a federal agency. So I'm at the federal agency under Yayasan Waqaf Malaysia, but my role is to try to coordinate this between these 14 states. So I don't have the authority, but my role is to coordinate the management of Awqaf in the different states in Malaysia. I think with that introduction, I hope that we understand the situation of Awqaf management in Malaysia. Thank you very much, Prof. Zainul. You are in mute. Prof. Zainul.
Sorry about that. Can we go on to, and thank you, Dr. Amir. Can we go on to Sister Dr. Shamsia to talk about Singapore? And thanks for keeping to the time. Dr. Shamsia, are you there? If
Shamsia still unmute. Kak Shamsia.
Yeah. Sorry. Forgot about the unmuting. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Yes, thank you again, the organizer, for inviting me to talk on the administration of Waqf in Singapore. So basically, the first part, we are talking about the legal framework of Waqf in Singapore. And in Singapore, is actually we have some similarity with Malaysia in the sense that the enactment was created under previously under the same, the legal framework that was created. But then after some time, it has there's changes that has been made. I think a bit more to me. Malaysia has adopted many more Waqf legislation that they have make it even, for example, Waqf Selangor Enactment Act, they have created temporary Waqf and so on. Okay, back to Singapore. We have under the Islamic Religious Council of Singapore, which is called MUIS in Singapore. They are the authority in all Waqf matters in the country. So all Waqf that is created in Singapore should be vested. What you mean by vested is in a sense that MUIS is the owner of the particular asset. So they becomes the owner. They are the trustee. They can also appoint mutawali, because in secular state Singapore, we also have the conventional law. So under the Trustee Act, trustee in the Waqf sense and trustee in the Trustee Act is too similar. It is not similar. It is different. So trustee in the Trustee Act, they actually they can manage the particular assets, and they become the custodian of that asset. But in Waqf, MUIS is the custodian. So for example, when you want to sell the particular property, you want to sell the asset, you have to go back to the Islamic Religious Council. So the mutawali cannot willfully sell and do a lot of this investment without the consent of the majlis. So that's some difficulty that I can see. And then you have under the Administration of Muslim Law Act, the registration of Waqf, the appointment of trustees and mutawali. You have all the auditing, the finances. So if you look at the website of MUIS, you can see all the assets, all the valuation of the assets, the income of the particular Waqf, and so on and so forth. So in a sense, while Singapore is a secular state, it has its own regulation in terms of Waqf legislation and administration. And I just want to point out one more thing, Mr. Zainul, although it's just 3 minutes and we're supposed to, to present. The definition of Waqf in Singapore. So the definition involves, if you were to look at the enactment, it is a permanent dedication by a Muslim. So only Muslim can create Waqf. Whereas if you look at like in legislation in Kuwait, non-Muslim can also create Waqf. So only for Muslim of any movable or immovable properties for any purpose recognized by the Muslim law as pious, religious or charitable. So it's quite wide. So for any purpose, even if you say you want to Waqf for the purpose of charity for cats, it can become a Waqf. So the definition is very wide, but it is for Muslim, and it can be cash Waqf. It can also be permanent in terms of property and so on.
Okay.
So that's the first part. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 3 minutes, well done. Okay, we go on to our next speaker. We go to Dr. Tanjung from Indonesia.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Zainul Abidin. I think Indonesia is unlike Malaysia. Malaysia is decentralization, but Indonesia is centralization of Waqf law. And also, unlike Singapore, Indonesia also the non-Muslim can pay Waqf. So if we trace back to the Dutch colonial period, because Indonesia was occupied by the Dutch colonial for 350 years. So the Waqf law in the Dutch colonial period in the form of circular of the government secretary. So the Waqf tradition or the Waqf practice in Indonesia is long time ago has been done. And entering to the time of President Sukarno, the Ministry of Religion of the Republic of Indonesia on December 20, 1953 issued instruction on Waqf. So this is in the form of the circular become of the authority of the social worship religious affairs office. And the final Waqf law is the law number 41 of 2004 concerning Waqf and government regulation number 42 of 2006 promulgated on 15 December 2006, and also the fatwa of Indonesian Ulama Council concerning of cash Waqf. So Indonesia recognize land Waqf or property Waqf and also cash Waqf. And in the regulation of Indonesian Waqf Board number 1, 2020, so just now, we detail the cash Waqf regulation in Indonesia, and also we refer to the Waqf core principles that we have launched in the IMF and World Bank meeting in Nusa Dua Bali on 2018. I think these are the rule and regulation about the Waqf law in Indonesia. The main point is we are centralizations, and also there is an authority of Waqf in Indonesia. It is Indonesian Waqf Board. I think that's all, Brother Zainal.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. It's interesting about the centralization and decentralization, but I'm sure our respondents there will pick that up and talk more about that as well. Okay, so can we go to Dr. Rawa Al-Ayubi, who's actually at the Strategic Research Center in Canberra, Australia, to talk to us about Australia.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you. Is that the first point you're talking about today? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just joining. So thank you so much for having me. Thanks for Dr. Sami for inviting me to this conference. Thank you so much. So it's really a great pleasure to be here with you today with all these scholars and speakers. Alhamdulillah. With the application of Waqf in Australia is subject to some limitation and requirements of the law of the country. I want you all to know that we are in non-Muslim majority countries, which is the law of Waqf is not implemented yet. So I would like to explore on some stuff some concept that it's very close to the Waqf. Which is the charitable trust in Australia. So most European countries, USA, Canada, and New Zealand, Australia, and India adopted the English trust model in their jurisdictions of private domestic law, as it plays a dynamic role in British society as well. Many Muslim scholars believe the English trust concept has borrowed from the Waqf framework to reach its success. Contemporary Waqf needs to reciprocate now the process of benefiting the trust model to rejuvenate, especially in non-Muslim majority country like Australia, where Muslims live and wish to follow the Waqf model according to Sharia. So within the Australian context, the closest relation to a Waqf, it's a charitable trust. I presented a paper, I remember, in 2017, and it was published in a book chapter about Waqf in selected Asian country in 2019. I examined the similarity between the Waqf and the charitable trust. The Australian charity law, I'm explaining a bit about the charitable trust that we are implementing in Australia. When I did the research, it was about why we want to implement the Waqf and how we would like to implement the Waqf here legally in Australia. And I find out that the charitable trust is very close entity to the Waqf. So it has, we all know that the law of Australia, it has its roots from the common law, which is from the British when they came to Australia and did this ownership of the land. And it was followed, the English definition of charitable purposes by Lord Macnaghten in Pemsell's case. The law governing the activities of a charity originated as a principal part of the law of trust. It's exactly, it has all the parts as the trust. So it has, as the Waqf. So it has a trust, a trustee, a beneficiary, and an asset as well. So in Australia now, the cornerstone of charitable trust is presented under the Charitable Uses Act 1601, referred as the Statute of Elizabeth. Now, the concept of charitable trust, which originated from the English trust, has always been associated with the institution of Waqf from a long time ago. So, and historically, both concepts evolved for the same reason, which is charity. Therefore, from a socio-economic perspective, Waqf and trust play similar roles in the Islamic community and Western society, respectively. What we will be talking today about the challenges, and I will be talking about the challenges, why we don't have Waqf, why we don't have legally implementing, we can't implement the Waqf now. So it's just a general, idea what we have in Australia here as a law, which is a charitable trust. It's exactly the same. So we will elaborate about why we don't have legally on the challenge in I think the point number 3.
Okay. Jazakallah khairan. Barakallah feek. And thank you also again for keeping to time. We go to our next speaker. Our next speaker will be Dr. Anwar Ragamoda. Is he there? From Philippines. Dr. Anwar, are you there?
I think Dr. Mustafa will present his paper, the brother Zainul.
Okay.
Yes.
If you can, then Dr. Mustafa, can you proceed, please? Okay, you can unmute. Dr. Mustafa, you can unmute. We can't hear you. We can see your screen, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Very faintly.
Okay. Can I start now or no?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Brother Mustafa, I think there is a problem in the mic.
Yeah, I'm trying my best. So, okay. How's the voice now?
Much better.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I present Dr. Anwar Jaramoda from Philippines. He has some internet problems. So the first
You have to speak a little bit louder because your voice is still not yet coming through and there's a crackle in the sound.
Sorry for that. I don't know what's the problem. Okay. He mentioned the map of the Islam and where's the Waqf included in this map. So he mentioned under economic, takaful and banking, and we will see now why he mentioned takaful. It means Waqf. He means Waqf, takaful, and banking together. So regarding to the historical background of the Waqf institution,
We just want to focus on the rules and regulations and laws in Philippines.
Okay. Regarding the laws in Philippines, he said that Muslims were made to understand the concept behind Waqf based on the Shafi'i doctrine, as other countries there in Southern East Asia. So the practices were gradually modified by the ulama who studied in Middle East, particularly in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Egypt, and then they sent this culture or this concept of Waqf to Philippines. The laws that regulated there, the National Commission on Muslim Philippines. This law formulated necessary rules and regulation of Waqf, Islamic Endowments Administration Services. He said that Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, he mentioned this point regarding the Islamic Banking Act that already signed into law. He mentioned that because he said that the culture of Islamic mu'amalat and also Waqf is improving there. So the Islamic Banking Act provides for the organization, regulation, and powers of Islamic banks to be established in the Philippines, and also Waqf is near that that laws. So this is regarding his first point.
Okay, so my question is also about specifically on Waqf and Waqf regulations, but I think we'll come back to that in the general discussion. Is Abdurrahman Haki there from Brunei? If he's there, we can speak to him. Dr. Abdurrahman Haki. If he's not there, then we can go on to Sheikh Muhammad Jalaluddin from Thailand.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Replace me Dr. Muhammad Sabri. He speak in English language.
Yes.
Muhammad Sabri, Dr. Muhammad Sabri.
Okay, you are from?
From Thailand, from Thailand.
Oh, okay.
I think he's the Mufti, Dr. Mr. Zainul.
Yes.
يمكن سامحوا لي أن أتكلم بالعربية؟
نعم يا سلام، هذا رائع.
نعم.
هذا شيء محبب إلينا.
نعم. إن كان بالعربية أنا مستعد يعني. In English?
Preferably, because I think we are mainly...
صعبة شوية.
Brother Zainul, let Mufti speak in Arabic and Brother Mustafa will translate to English, inshallah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brother Muhammad Sabri, there's Brother Muhammad Sabri, he will translate, right?
Okay.
Yeah. هو موجود عندكم الآن؟
No.
Unmute, Muhammad Sabri, unmute your mic.
Okay. Now I'm ready to translate. Okay.
تفضل شيخ.
محمد صبري يتكلم. صبري يقول لا صبري.
Oh, can I share the screen? Yes, I would like to share the screen.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes. You can now.
I think no need to display the screen.
If you need to, but if not, then it's fine.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Do you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du. There are Mr. Zainul Abidin, the chairman of this conference, Dr. Umar Hafiz, Dr. Hisham, the Faddar investigators, yes, guest speakers, yes, participants. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. My name is Muhammad Sabri, the coordinator of the Central Islamic Council of Thailand. Today, I'm on behalf of the Sheikh Muhammad Jalaluddin Bunshom, the chairman of senior scholars of the Sheikhul Islam Thailand. On this presentation, I'm on behalf of him. So we will start from the Thai laws related to Waqf management. The first law of Thai that related to Waqf management is the Masjid Administration Act in the year 1947. This is about the registered masjids are considered as the legal person. Therefore, the masjid can possess the properties and legally manage them. So this act is provide opportunities to transferring Waqf land ownership to the masjid committees. As for this act, in the time before this act was enacted, most of Waqf assets were operated by the trustee Nasir, both individual and foundation, without the right documents to confirm that the property has been donated to them. And also the consequence of not having the right document, causing many Waqf land to be lost. And therefore the cases in which their descendants have come to demand to take back the Waqf land. So you see the problem of how we gain the Waqf land in Thailand. And after the death of the Waqif and the Nasir, the descendant will take the land back into their possession. So we move on to the second law that's related to Waqf management, is the Administration of Islamic Organization Act in the year 1997. In this act is defined the relationship between the four organizations. The first one is the masjid committees. So they are the Waqf managers. They have a duty to maintain and manage the masjid and its properties. That is including the Waqf properties management also. And their responsibility is to implement the guidance and the directive of the Central Islamic Council of Thailand that we also call CICOT. And another their responsibility is to declare the property account to the provincial Islamic committees in the March annually. For the second parties of this act, the provincial Islamic committees, they are responsible for overseeing the administration of the masjid committees and submit the properties account, including Waqf assets, to the Central Islamic Committees of Thailand. And the third group is the Central Islamic Committees of Thailand. The Sheikhul Islam is the chairman of the Central Islamic Committees. So their responsibility is issuing regulation to the provincial Islamic committees and also the practice of the Masjid Committee as well. And keep information of the Masjid authorities throughout the country completely and systematically. And the last person is the Sheikhul Islam. He served as the chairman of the Central Islamic Committees of Thailand. As for the last act is about the Land Court Act. Is all about the transfer ownership fees of the land, that including the religious places. This act is related to the ownership land fees. The government have reduced the land ownership transfer fee to the religious places into 0.01% from the original 2% for the relief for the burden of the mosque, of the masjid to pay the payment. Okay, this is the law is all about the law that's related to the Waqf management in Thailand. There are 3 laws. Okay.
Okay. Jazakallah khairan for that, Brother Muhammad. Now, I think we'll go on to the next section because I don't see Dr. Abdurrahman Haki present here with us today. He was supposed to talk to us about Brunei, I think. And it would have been quite interesting to see what the rules and regulations in Brunei. So if we can follow the same pattern, or I'll call upon. I think firstly we're going to be talking about the investment types, the return on investments, how many investment Waqfs there are in those particular countries, and if you have some statistics, you can share that with us as well. So, can we start then with Professor Amir from Malaysia?
All right. Thank you, Brother Zainal Abidin. So, in Malaysia, most of our asset, property or awqaf asset and property are in the form of land and asset. So we estimate based on our study, we have around 30,000 hectares all over Malaysia, and this land were Waqf, were donated to the religious councils, and most of the intention or the niyat to Waqf is for the purpose of religious purpose. For example, to build mosques and to build cemetery, al-maqabir. So this is one of the main purpose of Awqaf. But in the recent years, the government already started to educate our community that actually Waqaf is not limited only to build mosques and to build maqabir, a cemetery. So we want to establish what we call as productive Waqaf. And we see that out of these 30,000 hectares, only 17% of the land were developed. So we have a vast majority of the land is not developed, undeveloped. So that one is related to the land and the real estate of Awqaf. I will share you what are the common problem to develop this Waqaf. I think this for the next session. And another category of Waqaf nowadays is cash Waqaf. Actually, we've been doing this cash Waqaf since 2008, and the amount that we have collected is about, I can estimate is about around 4 million USD. So this is 4 million collected throughout all Malaysia. And we do have like salary deduction system where our government servant, we have a system where they can deduct their monthly salary and donate and give Waqaf to the religious council, including in my institution, in Waqaf institution. So this is a form of cash Waqaf. And also we aggressively promote online banking nowadays, digital banking. So I can see that moving forward, our cash Waqaf will be bigger, and maybe we can bigger than the zakat collection nowadays. Okay, so what we do with this cash Waqaf is that we convert the fund into Awqaf asset. For example, nowadays we are facing with COVID-19. So we channel the fund to purchase beds in the hospital and the machine for the hospital. So the machine, the beds become the Awqaf asset. So this is one of the examples. And also we built a dialysis center for the kidney patient using the cash that we collected. So this is an example of how we develop and how we invest. We do not have investment per se because most of the cash Waqaf we distributed and we converted into Awqaf asset. Only small portion that this is not significant amount that we invested nowadays. Thank you very much, Brother Zainul Abidin. Where is our chairman?
Yes, sorry, Dr. Shamsia, if you can come in and you can talk to us about the investments in Singapore.
Sorry, Dr. Mustafa will share my slide, or I can just read it out. Do I share my own slide, or will they be sharing my slide?
You can,
okay, anyway.
you can share, or if you have it, you can share it.
Okay, share screen.
I see Dr. Mustafa's screen is still on, but nothing's coming up yet.
Share screen, okay.
While we're waiting, I think the next speaker will be Dr. Rawa Al-Ayubi.
Is my screen shared now? Can you see it?
It is being shared, but we can't see anything.
Oh, can't see anything. Okay, anyway.
Could you please run the show mode?
I can see it from my laptop. From my screen,
you can see it
clearly. Yes, clearly.
Okay, anyway, I'll just say it out. Waqf investment in Singapore, basically, the assets is about almost 1 billion now, 1 billion Sing dollar, which comprise, there's about 90 to 100 over Waqf in Singapore, which was created many years ago by the philanthropists, mostly from the Yemenis and from, Hadramaut, where they through the spice route they set up their assets in Singapore. So in that sense, the Waqf cash Waqf in Singapore is very limited. Currently, because of the very expensive property prices in Singapore, you don't really see people creating new Waqf, except that now MUIS has introduced cash Waqf, so it is easier for people now to put in a very small amount to create Waqf for a certain cost. So its assets, which forms mostly in property base. So 95% of its asset allocation is in property, and only 5% is invested in stocks and shares. So while we have a lot of, if you look at many countries, they have Waqf assets in the form of masjid, and in madrasah, we have the investable asset. We call it the investment properties and investment of the cash itself. So because of property prices in Singapore is very expensive, you can expect the rental yield as not being so much. But we always see capital appreciation in the assets itself when we invested in, say, shop houses or commercial properties. The rental yield can be quite substantial. For example, in stock and shares, there are challenges in putting Waqf assets in such investment portfolio because of the Waqf nature, where the capital has to be protected. So, and also there should be enough Sharia compliant portfolio and assets that it should be invested in. And I will discuss the challenges of managing some of this investment in the next chapter. So that's basically how investments of Waqf assets is being made in Singapore. Traditionally, it is in property. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Zainal.
Okay.
I stop at that. Yeah.
Could we have our next speaker, Dr. Rawal Ayubi, to talk to us about any investments in Australia, Waqf investments?
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll share. I cannot share my screen because there's a lot of screen shares. Okay, I'll try again.
You can now.
Now you should be able to.
Is that clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Look,
Dr. Rawa,
this question is sorry.
Please continue.
All right, thanks. So in order to talk about the type and the amount of assets or the type of assets of Waqf in Australia, I have to talk a bit about the history and evolution of charity in Australia. So just to give you an idea about what's happening, how much assets we have as Muslims here. In 1788, we all know that the British colony claimed sovereignty and ownership of Australia. But Muslims have been resident in Australia since the arrival of Afghan cameleers between 1830 and 1860. So it's been about 120 years. The long distance between their home country and Australia encouraged many of them to take Australia as a promised second home with a fresh start. Now, the legacy of the Afghan cameleers is being preserved by their descendants who are seeking recognition for their effort. So, unfortunately, we do not have a study or a survey of a broad presentation of their assets, but I know that they have a huge waqf under the Afghan cameleers waqf. We don't know exactly, as I said, how much they are, but I did a research about the mosque in Australia. Just the mosque in Australia, they are under we suppose they have to be under the Waqf as well, but because of the regulation, they're not. There are currently over 340 mosques in Australia, including about 167 in New South Wales, where I am in the state of New South Wales, were usually built after the late 1970s. All mosques should be under Waqf, but because of the regulations that are registered under non-for-profit organization, and some of them, they are under charitable trust. Well, Muslims, they are about 3% of the whole population of the Australian population, and they altogether, they migrate from about 70 different countries. So this religious diversity in Australia gave rise to the growth of non-profit organizations and to build a lot of mosques and established Muslim schools, Islamic radio stations, nursing home, aged care, and so on. So therefore, philanthropic foundations began to emerge in the 19th century. And from there, the non-profit organization play dynamic role in Australian society. I have an example of one of the organization. They call themselves Waqf Australia, but they are a non-profit organization. They are an example of an organization that was formed they formed in 2015 by a group of imam in Sydney, and for the purpose of Waqf administration. This organization was created in response to a need to establish asset management infrastructure and the capacity to generate wealth to support the Muslim community. So this organization has approximately an asset of 12 million Australian dollar. Waqf Australia plans to implement about 70% of its initiative by way of project implementation agreements, while implementing the other 30% in-house. Well, I'm looking forward to have all of these survey and information about the Waqf in Australia, inshallah, in the future, in the near future, if we have proper research or study about that. Thank you.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much for that brief insights into Waqf and Waqf in Australia, Dr. Rawa. And I think we'll go to the next speaker, Dr. Henry Tanjung, who can talk to us about Waqf investments in Indonesia.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Zainul. Have you seen my screen?
Yes. I think others can see it, but I can't see. But anyway, I think you please continue.
Okay. There are two types of assets Waqf in Indonesia. The first one is Waqf land. This is the use of Waqf land in Indonesia is about 4.359 billion meter square. This is not million, this is billion. So 90, not 60. Approximately, if we if we count it in the rupiah, it is about 2,179.59 trillion rupiah. So this is 0 in rupiah, 12 0. In USD, it is about 155 million US dollar. And you cannot imagine the nazils is so many, about 400,000 nazils Waqf land Indonesia. So Indonesia is the giant of the Waqf land, I think, in the world. You see also the type of the nazils. Most of them individual nazils. Individual does not mean only one person, maybe 2 persons, or maybe 3 persons, but it's not in organization or in the legal institutions. And the rest one is organizations and also legal institutions. And now, if you want to see the type of investment methods, is it like for rent house, example, Gria Sakina in Ciledug, hotel, for example, Gambir Anam Hotel in Solo, Memorial Park. You see, this is the very innovative type of Waqf, productive Waqf. Memorial, example, Firdaus Memorial Park in Bandung, and also cottage, example, Darul Jannah Cottage in Bandung, and also rent office, for example, Manara 195 in Jakarta. And if you want to see the example, the yield of cash Waqf managed by Indonesian Waqf Board, only Indonesian Waqf Board, because Indonesian Waqf Board also operate the cash Waqf, we collect 59 billion rupiah in 2020, and we use it for the 3 program, Kalisa program. Kalisa, you see my background is Kalisa. This is Waqf Peduli Indonesia, Indonesian care of Waqf. It's about 6 billion, and hospital building 3 billion, and center building 50 billion. And this, for Kalisa program, we spend it for 7 program, for a ventilator for COVID, and for Kalisa for the students in the university, and continue their life, care ulama, all program, and clinic building, and also scholarship for 100 million. Especially for cash Waqf, Indonesia now has 22 Islamic banks receive cash Waqf, and now it has been 23, because one Islamic bank has been appointed as a receiving of cash Waqf. You can see the number of the bank in the list. This is 22 and plus 1, 23. And okay, I think that's all for 3 minutes of mine. Thank you, Brother Zainul.
Okay, shukran, Dr. Henry Tanjung from Indonesia. Also very interesting to see the number of Waqfs, but we're not hearing about the rates of return and the yields and so forth. But anyway, I think maybe that we'll talk in the next section. If we could also get our brother from Philippines to come on board. The floor is yours for Dr. Anwar Adamoda.
Okay, I can represent him.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, regarding the second main point about the types of assets in Philippines, as you know, Philippines is a majority Christian country, so the Muslim is minority. It is only 15 million Muslim. For us in Arab countries, mashallah, 15 million is majority. So now here in Philippines, there's no legally support for the religious institution, including Waqf, Zakat, and Baytul Mal. 75% of the Mawquf properties was damaged during the Marau siege. Waqf has no identified assets nowadays. Regarding the types of Waqf there, in Philippines, they have two kinds of Waqf, Waqf Khairi and Waqf Ahli, or Waqf Zurri, based on families, rich families. So when they wanted to make a category for the Waqf in Philippines, they have Aqar, irremovable assets, Waqf al-Manqul, removable assets, and Waqf al-Irshad. They have cash Waqf, but it is a few Waqfs, and now they will talk about the cash Waqf. All Waqf there managed by private institutions. Most of Mawquf in Philippines are properties or lands, but there were no proper record. Because of that, we didn't see in this presentation any numbers. In Philippines, Baytul Mal is not legally recognized as part of the government. There were a few cash Waqf for Islamic schools only. Some properties of Waqf in Philippines. Now he will talk about some of Waqf models. Waqf plays an important role in the development of Muslim education, especially the establishment of madrasa institution that provides Islamic knowledge to the Muslim young generations. Some of the madrasa and colleges established through Waqf within Marawi city. And now he will mention some of it. The جمعية الفلبين الإسلامية, معهد مراوي الإسلامي city, Pakasum College is one of the oldest school established in Marawi city through family Waqf. Other schools and madrasa which have been destroyed by the airstrikes during the Marawi war are جمعية الوقف, جمعية المحسنين, مدرسة وقف قسم البنات. This is regarding girls students, especially وقف for girl students. معهد القراءات, مدرسة ديسمونغكوب, and معهد ذكري الإسلامي. So these some of educational Waqf in Philippines. In Marawi city, there were numbers of masjid in every district which were built on Waqf lands. They were financed by cash Waqf provided by the people and some religious and private organizations. And these some masjids and institutions in Philippines, the Masjid Islamic Center. It is the grand mosque in the province of Lanao del Sur. The Masjid Batu is one of the biggest mosques within the city center of Marawi. The lower ground of the masjid has been used by the Ma'had Marawi al-Islami as students' classrooms for more than 40 years. Masjid Abu Bakr, Masjid Sheikh Mora, Masjid Barrio, and other masjids in Philippines. These are the points that he mentioned about types of assets in Philippines. Thank you.
Dr. Mustafa. So we see that most of the Waqf assets there are actually not financial assets or productive assets, mainly social assets or assets that are benefiting the community, but not income producing. But maybe they are attached to some of the mosques, some of the masajid where they do have shops maybe that are producing rental income. So perhaps a little bit more information about that. Okay, Jazakallah khairan for that. If we could go to...
Brother Zainul,
Yes.
Dr. Abdurrahman Haqqi joined us.
Oh, okay. Ahlan wa sahlan. Thank you. We come back to you just now, but I think let us first just finish with Muhammad Sabri, who will talk on behalf of Sheikh Muhammad Jalaluddin on Thailand. Muhammad Sabri, are you there?
Unmute your mic, please.
The microphone is still unmute, I think.
Your mic is mute.
Okay. This is the second point of this forum is the Waqf investment methods. As for Thailand, we can say that now we just have a rental method only. As for the cash Waqf and the new method that we hope that in the future we can do something that make difference in our the Waqf economies to improve our society. As for the first one is the method is the masjid committees have power to make decision on their Waqf investment. We can say that some project that they have been doing is successful, and some of them have been failed. Also, the site court have an idea to establish the experts to help them in the term of the investment analysis, the project management, and the real estate development, and also the property evaluation. As for the second one is the rental land for living and agriculture. We can say that this kind of the investment method is most of this project gain unreasonable profit. Its revenue can afford only masjid expenses and not able to develop another projects of the Waqf investment. And the last one, the last method is the Waqf land rental for construction. This is the also most of these projects gain unreasonable profit and disadvantage for long-term rental contract with the private sector. The renter, who is the private, will build commercial building and apartments and gain a lot of revenue, and also at the same time pay the low rental to the masjid. And also today we have got the two examples for the private sector and the government sector. This one is the Masjid Darul Muhsinin that located in Bangkok. You see that what kind of the investment that Waqf investment for this masjid. The revenue from the Waqf investment, land and building for these three buildings, apartments. That building are built on the Waqf land. The revenue from this Waqf investment support effectively to the educational aspect of the communities. You say that every masjid in Thailand have a religious school, and also this revenue from this apartment pay for the teacher expenditure and also the water and electricity of the religious school. Okay, today, and this is the balance of this Waqf investment of this masjid. The monthly income of masjid is from three Waqf building is around $5,500 US dollars. And also the masjid expenses in October, teacher expenditures 1,396 US dollars, and also staff expenses for the mosque is around 790 US dollars. Also, and this water and electricity, and also the balance is around 3,185 US dollars. This is just an example of the masjid from the government sector. And this is another example for the private sector. The Waqf management from private foundation This is the Madrasah Miftahul Ulum Diniyah. This is also the religious school. And also this school, they have income from the Waqf apartments building, with the support this private religious school with free of charge for every student. The foundation is responsible for these expenses, the teacher expenditures, student housing, including water and electricity, and also the maintenance. The school expense is approximately 12,000 monthly.
Okay.
Okay. This is the example from Thailand, the government and private sector.
Shukran. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan. I think we'll go on to Dr. Abdurrahman Haki very quickly. We are actually overrunning our time at the moment. So I'm going to ask the speakers please to restrict their times to the 3 minutes. Dr. Abdurrahman Haki is from the Faculty of Sharia and Law at the University Islam Sultan Sharif Ali. Welcome and thank you for joining us. And thank you also to all the participants for joining us as well. And over to you, Dr. Abdurrahman Haki. And thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa wala amma ba'd. Thank you for the invitation to become one of the participant or presenter in this forum. So my topic, it is about Brunei Darussalam. What is the Waqf forum from Brunei Darussalam experience? I think it is the organizer will put with the screen sharing. Okay, listen. Thank you, brother Dr. Mustafa. So this presentation is about Brunei Darussalam. In this presentation, as it is mentioned by brother Zainul, that we have only three minutes. So I will discuss all this thing in 3 minutes. So in introduction, as you know, that Brunei Darussalam, as meaning that Waqf has been practiced by the Muslim community in Brunei Darussalam since the beginning of their arrival in the country. In 16th century. They have making the Waqf in Brunei. But as the government, starting from 1957, when the Islamic Religious Council and Code Act, Chapter 77, made by the government. So all after this chapter, any management or any discussion about the Waqf will be by the government of Brunei Darussalam. So prior to the introduction of this one, government or certain party had no right to manage and administer all this, the Waqf property in Brunei, except those appointed directly by the Waqf giver and Nazir. It is previously, before this Act number 77. But after this one, so the religious council become the sole management of the Waqf in Brunei Darussalam. No other parties, only this Brunei Islamic Religious Council. It is starting from 1955. Then after this one, we have in this law that notwithstanding any complementing term contained in any instrument or declaration governing or affecting such instrument of declaration, the council shall be the sole trustee of all Waqf. So it is the council. So nobody or no individual, no return, all this only this council. This is MUIB, Majlis Ugama Islam Brunei Darussalam. Whether general or specific Waqf, for all general forms and all trusts and of any kind, whether meeting by this by this council. The Waqf itself nowadays we can see the current practice of religious of Brunei Darussalam has successfully generated a high income and give full benefit to all the Muslims from Waqf properties income in Brunei. Majlis Ugama Islam Brunei (MUIB) administers and manages the Waqf property using e-government technology and became the sole trustee for all Waqf in the country. Majlis, this council, also give information and understanding to the public about the Waqf procedures. The council shall be the sole trustee of endowment, whether general or specific. So to develop the religious council asset, including Waqf properties, and on an agency has been assigned on September 4, 1995, as an investment executor named the Tanmiyah Agency under the Religious Council and courtesy of His Majesty the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Negara Brunei Darussalam. This agency functions to take care of the allotment of the Religious Council to develop and empower assets for the benefit of the future of Muslim in Brunei Darussalam. In managing the productive Waqf sector, the Tanmiyah Agency of the Religious Council is more likely to make a direct investment for Waqf properties, such as land and building, by using the contract of Ijara. One of the productive Waqf management model carried out by Tanmiyah Agency is channeling Waqf properties to various sectors such as housing, oil station, business facilities, and other land business. So we can look here some asset of Brunei. It is requested by the organizer that I starting from the latest, because previously when we have a forum, I think in Ramadan, so I mentioned until the 2010. So we have here new input. It is starting from 1st January of 2011. This is only for mosque, for mosque there. Then we have a new mosque there. Then in December of 12, also a road Muslim cemetery. Additional area for Waqf land lot, also a road in December 1913. In 1914, a road to Muslim cemetery also made for the Waqf, as about is 20 hectare. All is that. Then we have also road construction and other uses here in 2015. All this with around 168 hectare. All this thing. Then the figure of presentation of Waqf in Brunei Darussalam, as it is seen here, it is from Religious Council of Brunei, as we mentioned, starting from 2010. Then we have here until 2016. In most in Brunei, because we have here three places or three wilayah in Brunei Darussalam. For example, in Brunei Buara, there are 17 mosques, and in Tutong there are 4 mosques, and Temburung 2 mosques. And cemeteries, bridges, and unregistered, as it is mentioned in this presentation. Then, inshallah, the main challenge for Waqf in Brunei Darussalam, as we said, when compared with the Waqf management in South Asia region, like Indonesia and Malaysia, the Waqf management in Brunei Darussalam is still far, because empirical studies on Waqf in the country are still limited. They are merely related to the understanding of Waqf and have not touched the issue of productive Waqf management. The problem of the Waqf management in Brunei were expressed in the management of Nazir management, then management of the collection investment and the benefit of Waqf. This is the what we have challenging here regarding the understanding and the implementation of the fiqh of Waqf. In conclusion, in Brunei Darussalam, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. We'll discuss challenges and so forth in our next section. So if you don't mind, we can now open it up to the third section. We are still running out of time. So this section here, we basically going to go through with all the speakers to just talk to us about challenges in their countries regarding specifically about Waqf. Okay, so if I may, let's start off with Dr. Shamsia. She spoke to us about Singapore. Let's talk about the challenges that Singapore faces with regard to Waqf. Dr. Shamsia?
Yeah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I think, I did mention firstly on the investment side, when we talk about Waqf, the challenges I will break into basically three parts. One is the legislation, and then the second part is the assets, investment of the assets. Yeah, legal and admin, the financing. The last slide, correct. The financing, investment, and the beneficiaries itself. So the first part, legal and admin. When one is the trust issue, because in Singapore, the decentralization of the Waqf makes it people are not some of them may not be very trusting of the organization because it is under statutory it is under the government, and people may those who may not be be very do not want the assets to be kept, their wakaf to be kept in the government. It's in an institution which is related to the government, may find it a bit restrictive. They want to manage on their own. So that's one. Second is efficiency and bureaucracy, because sometimes if you look at the trust as a comparison, in the Trustees Act, where the trust can be managed by the trustees itself. So they can have the decision to sell, they can have the decision to invest in a faster manner because it is not centralized. And then you talk about challenges on financing. You know that when we do financing for a Waqf development, then there will be that limited Sharia financing that we can actually do for development. And as you know that Waqf you cannot mortgage, you cannot when you want to develop, there are many restrictions when it comes to Waqf properties. And then you talk about investment. The third one is investment. There are compared to Malaysia, there are many products that is Sharia compliant. In Singapore, there are very limited Sharia compliant products. But however, we do invest in assets, for example, sukuk, which is offered in Dubai and so on. Some of the sukuk in Malaysia, some of the REITs that they have actually invested in some of these Sharia compliant under the Waqf assets. And these are usually hedged into the Singapore dollar. So there are challenges in terms of this Sharia compliant product out there. And then we have the other challenge where when we want to invest, being a Waqf asset, we have to ensure that the capital is protected. So when you talk about capital protection, there are very limited investment out there that you can actually do, except for maybe to buy in properties. That is the reason why most of the investment of the Waqf in Singapore are in properties. With the additional cash Waqf that is coming in, these are some of the things that the Islamic Religious Council can actually put in some of it in shares and stock, other investable assets, and of course income yield is another challenges that the Waqf assets has to meet up. We usually have a benchmark to ensure that the yield can give certain return for the beneficiary. For example, 5%. So the beneficiary can actually get this income every year for their needs. And And fourth, I would like to mention about the limited assets now because of Singapore having very expensive property prices. It's like the pricing of the property is crazy right now, because you are looking at sometimes like over 2,000 per square feet for a very not even in the town area. So it comes to millions, and a lot of people cannot waqf in terms of property, so it has to be in a cash form. The last part is the beneficiary. When we talk about beneficiary in the Singapore context, there are beneficiary overseas. Dr. Henry Tanjung, we also have beneficiary in Jakarta. There's one mosque that the waqf is in Singapore.
I know that.
You know, it's right in the middle of Jakarta.
Yeah, in Mangga
So we will have to check whether we have to meet up with the beneficiary, and of course there's a lot in Yaman, in Hadramaut. So we have to make sure that the beneficiary actually use the waqf income properly. So there need to be an audit. There need to be a committee to ensure that this money is being used properly for the intention of the waqf. So basically, that's the 5 challenges that I discussed today. Thank you.
Okay, Jazakallah. I think that's quite comprehensive as well. Can we go on to Dr. Rawal Ayubi, and then thereafter Dr. Henry?
Okay, thank you.
Brother Zainul, Malaysia, you forgot Malaysia.
No, we'll come back. I'm going according to this list. I haven't forgotten anyone.
How come Brother Zainul forgot Malaysia?
No, we haven't forgotten anybody. Okay, can we go to Dr. Rawa Ayubi?
Yes, thank you. So for the challenges, let me start with the legal challenges for Waqf first. So there are 2 challenges to implement Waqf as legal entity in Australia. Let me share my screen. So the first is getting approval from the Australian Parliament to have separate independent juridical personality. And the second is improving the management of the Waqf administration to suit Australian law. So as I said in the beginning, my first point, that the Waqf is not legally implemented in Australia, and we need as well one hand, the Muslim, they have to be one hand to go to the parliament and do this lobby, that we have to be really insisting to be able to approve legally and implement legally the Waqf in Australia. Also, one of the reasons that we have challenge as well around, if we do have the Waqf of the Muslims here, and I mentioned the mosque and the Islamic school and the aged care and all of that, we have really big assets at social level in Australia, but it's not transparent. We don't know how much we have. We don't know the we don't have a study around this. We don't have a survey. So I think it is a challenge as well. And one of the reasons of Waqf experienced a downturn is because of the mismanagement of assets to maintain its existence and the ignorance of the process or knowledge for implementing Waqf. So this was due to the absence of an Islamic legal system in non-Muslim majority countries to sustain its survival. Also, people used Waqf solely, and we all know that the lay people, the public, they just think about Waqf as just for religious purposes. And while it can be a really good source of social sustainable revenue for our society, like we can see now with Singapore, with Thailand, mashallah, they are doing really well. So the challenge to find out if Waqf can be effective for society in non-Muslim majority countries as well. I do have a solution, though, for the many challenges that we have at, for the management and for the administration of Waqf. It's just learning from the charitable trust for enhancing this contemporary Waqf management. To maintain the highest level of confidence, transparency, and accountability of a charitable trust, we have an Australian charity of not-for-profit commission, which is the ACNC. It is a really strong regulatory body for charities and charitable trusts in Australia. And this is an independent and national regulator of charities, and its role is to enhance public faith in the sector through increased accountability and support the independent non-for-profit sector. So to learn from this experience, we have to keep in mind all these above challenges and see what we can learn from the charitable trust experience. We can do the following point. For instance, we can establish an ideal legal structure for charitable trust, introduce an appropriate legal structure for Waqf in tune with the financial taxation services in Australia. We can create a commission that will support and guide, manage and monitor the internal transactions and governance of Waqf to reduce fraud, abuse, and contribute towards the progress of Waqf. We can enhance transparency and accountability in terms of managing Waqf endowment if we do all of this. And we can also adopt a policy of reinvesting accrued proceeds for a sustainable development of the value of endowments. We can appoint reputable, trustworthy, sincere, and credible trustees who are knowledgeable of Australian law in regard of trust and with full conviction in the values of Sharia as well. And lastly, we can develop a special reporting mechanism for donors in regard to their contributions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Also very comprehensive, and I like this idea of this independent body that looks after and reports on the transparency of charitable organizations. I think that's a very good idea.
It's very strong body here in Australia, very strong. It has a commission by itself, and it is as if a government, it's an independent entity in the government.
Yes. Okay.
They can investigate with any charity.
Good, thank you very much. Jazakallah. Okay, can we go to Dr. Henry Tanjung from Indonesia?
Yes.
And thereafter, I think we'll do Abdurrahman Haki from Brunei again on channel.
Okay, thank you. Major challenges in Indonesia. This is about how to educate the public to be able to do cash Waqf. Indonesia Muslim people, more than 200 million persons. So it's a big number. But the problem is we cannot grab from them so many cash Waqf. The potential of cash Waqf for 1 year around 77.8 trillion rupiah, but still now we just get half trillion rupiah. So this is a very, very small number from the potential number. And about the regulation also, amendments of this Waqf law 2004, this is 16 years ago. So many changes in technology. So this need to be amendment to the law of Waqf. And also from the technology, there must be good regulation immediately about this financial technology. Although some of Nazir has used financial technology or fintech to collect cash Waqf, but this is only a view of Nazirs. The very view of Nazirs use that type of technology. And the forward is social. Advocate the community to give Waqf. this is very, very difficult because community, they know Waqf for the three purpose, for the cemetery, for the masjid, and for the madrasah. So we call it 3M, masjid, madrasah, and makbarah. So this is problem, but we are going to strive for hard work for this one. And the environment, it takes effort to unite the ummah, because Indonesia is a majority Muslims, so many organizations, so many Muslim organizations, and they pay Waqf in their small organization, for example. So if we flow water in the small pipes, the results will not be significant. But if we flow one water in the big pipe, so the results would be significant. And the last one is politics. So political will is needed from the government to develop Waqf in Indonesia, and especially to strengthen the role of Indonesian Waqf Board, because Indonesia has 34 states, so 34 provinces, and all of them has the representation of Indonesian Waqf Board. But the problem is they do not have budget. So the problem how the political will needed from the government side to provide budget for them to develop the Nazirs, to develop the capacity of the Nazirs, so that the Nazir can have enough ability to develop Waqf property. I think the 6 challenges of Indonesian.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Jazakallah khairan. I can see that we've got lots of challenges in all the countries, and I think we'll have to really move faster. Dr. Abdurrahman Haki, and thereafter we'll have Dr. Mustafa again, and then Professor Amir. If you can all summarize very quickly, because we still have Dr. Hisham and Dr. Umar Hafiz to make their inputs, and then furthermore, if there's any further discussions, because we've only got just about 30 minutes left. Okay, so quickly, Dr. Abdurrahman Haki.
Okay, thank you, Brother Zainul. Brunei has a great potential in developing. We can say it is about the challenge in Brunei, developing real estate and cash wealth. Given that Brunei is a small country, the lands in Brunei Darussalam are a high value and profitable for the sake of the Muslim. At the same time, cash wealth fund have yet to be fully realized. Until 2019, cash wealth benefit will be distributed to religious schools and KUPU-SB, this college of religious teachers. Then about the inadequate physical condition of Waqf land is in one of the challenges faced in developing Waqf land in Brunei Darussalam. Small land size, poor land quality, and poor strategic position and economic inability are among obstacles in developing in the development of Waqf real estate. So the case where the customary Waqf land could not be developed is regarding one case in Brunei Darussalam. Most people in Brunei Darussalam have no understanding of Waqf worship. Most Muslim people still think that Waqf is only limited to religious activities such as mosque, and tomb, purely without any element of production and investment of Waqf property. This has little purely to do with disturbing the development and potential of the Waqf in Brunei. As March 2019, the council owns more than 45 acres of customary landfill and a total of 10,000 acres. There is a significant difference between the special Waqf land and the general Waqf. 98% of this special Waqf land is intended for special use involving mosque and tomb. And from 19 1989 to 2017, the total amount cash donation collected by the council successfully distributed to the beneficiaries in accordance with the intention of the beneficiary was more than 4 million ringgit Brunei Darussalam. However, 19% of this cash is allocated to the construction, improvement, enhancement, and renovation of mosques throughout Brunei's Darussalam country. So this is the challenge, our main challenge of Waqf in Brunei Darussalam. So maybe next time and next year we can improve all these things, because as we know that the Brunei Darussalam using e-government and in the transaction in Brunei Darussalam to make it is easy to distribute or to improve the management of the administration of Waqf in Brunei Darussalam. Thank you, Brother Zainul.
Okay, Jazakallah, thank you so much. It looks like, everywhere we have this problem about educating people and the ignorance that people face with regard to understanding Waqf, and everyone seems to understand Waqf just as mosques and madrasas and cemeteries. So I hope, through these webinars, we can start changing that mindset and the perceptions about Waqf. Can we go on to Dr. Mustafa? Are you doing Dr. Anwar Radamuda's presentation as well on challenges?
I don't know what happened to your camera, Brother Zainul, if you can.
I don't know. I don't know either. I don't see it on my screen either. And I don't
turn off and turn on again. Okay. Regarding the challenges, there are a similarity between Philippines and other countries' challenges. So lack of marketing and unprotective of Waqf assets. There is some of the Waqf lands have been claimed by the governments as part and parcel of the military reservation. There's a lack of unified system in managing and developing the Waqf properties among the religious organizations or individuals. Lack of knowledge about Waqf and the importance of Waqf. Some of corruption in some of trustees or mutawallis who are using Waqf properties for their own benefits. And finally, difficult to find halal sources to finance the reconstruction of Waqf properties. These are the main challenges in Waqf in Philippines.
Okay. Can we go, Jazakallah, Dr. Mustafa, can we go to Muhammad Sabri and thereafter to Professor Amir? Dr. Muhammad Sabri regarding Thailand, your challenges there, and then Dr. Amir. Are we winning there?
Okay. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah. Much better, yes.
Okay. This is the main challenges for the Waqf management in Thailand. The first main challenge is about collecting Waqf data from the all masjids across the countries, because right now we have no information about these Waqf data. How about the Waqf land and how about their management? And the solution that we have planned is the State Court has encouraged the masjid committees around Thailand to completing collection of the Waqf information and submit it to the State Court. And now, so on, we have start from the Bangkok capital first. And these the numbers of the masjid in Bangkok is around 186 masjids in Bangkok, and also 151 masjids have been completed the Waqf data collection, and remain around the 35 masjids are still not complete. This is the last information from the Islamic communities of Bangkok. And also this collecting Waqf data, and this is the regulation. Actually, this is the regulation for the masjid committees to declare the properties account, including Waqf properties, to the provincial account, provincial committees, and then the provincial committee will submit to the CICOT, Center of Islamic Council of Thailand. This is the first challenge. As for the second challenge is quick transferring ownership process. This is also the problem that we have faced all the time for the Waqf land collection for the Thai people. And also the solution for the CICOT is they have set up the subcommittees to assist the process to transfer Waqf land ownership from the Waqif to the masjid quickly and effectively. So we cannot neglect this process because it's really important. The problem is about the transfer fees. If there is 2%, is the masjid cannot bear this fees, so the land will remain to the Waqif. And if the Waqif die, the descendant will take it back to the Waqif. And this is a problem because the masjid will not process this Waqf land and collect it and register it as the possession of the Waqf properties. So the last challenge is the maximizing productivities of Waqf properties. And the solution is the CICOT is establishing the expert in terms of the investment analysis, the project management, and the real estate development to supervise the masjid committees directly for the best benefit, the best returns. And also the Central Islamic committees have an idea to establishing the Waqf investment model center, which is located in the CICOT area, which is comprised with the new methods of Waqf investment. We will try to present to the authorities who involved in the move in the Waqf management to realize the potential of Waqf. And it will be the best if Waqf economy will going to generate more income and improve livelihood of the Muslim Ummah in Thailand and generate more merit for the hereafter, inshallah. This is all about the main challenge for the Muslim in Thailand.
Okay.
My presentation.
Okay, thank you, Brother Muhammad Sabri, Dr. Muhammad Sabri. Can we go on to our last speaker, Professor Amir from Malaysia? Sorry to right at the end.
All right, okay. I just want to concentrate on the challenges.
Yes.
Actually, there are quite a number of challenges, but I just want to concentrate on three main challenges. First is about this knowledge and awareness. In Malaysia, what I mean by knowledge and awareness is that we want to move from the traditional understanding of Waqf into a productive Waqf. So this is the main challenges because traditionally we just focus on to build mosques and to build a cemetery, but now we are moving towards Waqf, a productive Waqf. So we need to educate people that Waqf is not only to build mosques and to build a cemetery, but Waqf should be function to develop the society, to build hospital, to provide education, to provide a good level of life for the society. Second is the funding, because we know that we do have a lot of asset, but this needs funding to develop, to build a shopping complex, to shop lot, so it can generate income to the Waqf. And in order to do this, the main challenges is that the Nazir or the managers of Waqf needs to be professional and skillful managers. But what we do have at the moment is they are mainly religious people. They only know fiqh about the Waqf, but not the developing of Waqf. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jazakallah khairan. So we basically covered the three sections that we plan to do on the rules and regulations. The second part of it was looking at the types of investments that we have in the different countries. and thirdly, the challenges. Now I'm going to invite Dr. Umar Hafiz and then Dr. Hisham Defterdar to look at everything that has been said thus far and to make their inputs and understandings and their insights into an overall summary of what we've been talking about. So can I invite Dr. Umar Hafiz first?
Okay,
yes.
It was muted for me, but now I unmuted it.
Okay.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Rasulillah. My thanks is given first to Dr. Sami Al-Salahat, the founder of the Al-Ma'had al-Dawli lil-Waqf al-Islami, for organizing this. Also, I thank very much Brother Zainul Abidin from Awqaf, South Africa. I was very delighted by being a part of this discussions. MashaAllah, the representation of all cases we had is very rich, very informative. I cannot be fair for each one of the presentation and cases, but allow me to make in 5 minutes some general remarks about what I have listened to this Jum'ah. After Jum'ah, mashallah, prayer, we have this great meeting. The first one is related to the enactments or regulations of Awqaf. And now I should differentiate between the two kind of cases which we have today. The first one is about OIC member countries. We have 3 member countries with us today. We have Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei. And we have 4 countries, non-OIC member countries, which are Australia, Philippines, Thailand, Singapore. So all these rich cases needs really a lot of discussions. But first of all, the regulation issue. I think being an OIC member country has some distinguished features that we should take into account. The Muslim communities in non-member countries of OIC means that they have to struggle to get their regulations according to Islam. What are the reference? I know the Islamic International Fiqh Academy is the Sharia reference for OIC member countries, but they do serve the Muslim communities outside of their member countries. So I believe there should be some efforts to standardize those main principles should be taken into account when you are making any regulation anywhere about Awqaf. First of all, Masajid Awqaf should be care about very much, because this is to preserve the first Maqasid al-Sharia, which is about deen. So I think we should take very care about Awqaf of Masajid. There should be some special treatment of Awqaf Masajid to keep it sustainable and going for long run, inshallah. Now, the other issue is regarding these 2 kinds of Awqaf, or we can look at 3 kinds. Awqaf, general Awqaf objectives for charitable purposes, and those dhurriya or families Awqaf, and those who are mixed of both of 2. I believe there is a lot of chance to make a special regulations for all those. I would suggest that our brothers, sisters from non-member countries can get the special advice and opinion from International Islamic Fiqh Academy in Jeddah. And I will be so happy if I can get anything to the management of the Fiqh Academy, as I am a volunteer advisor to the General Secretary there. So please, if you need anything, I can be going there and help you and communicate to you. The other issue after Awqaf regulations is Awqaf investments. I noticed in some cases two phenomena. The first one is that very little percentage of Awqaf real estate are developed. And Awqaf means investment, means development. If they are not developed, it means they are not giving the benefit they should get. So this is the first issue from all Awqaf management. You have to develop what has been mawquf, or what has been as Awqaf. I noticed this in the case of Malaysia. 17% of the real estate Awqaf are developed only, which is very little. This means that Awqaf can make a lot of returns by developing the other percentage. The other issue after investment that I noticed also that there should be a regulation of investments that should follow Sharia rules of investments. And this is a very important issue because Awqaf is a religious issue and we have to follow Sharia to invest all assets of that. I believe also there should be a lot of cooperation between the Awqaf institutions in all countries. We have created some special entity and registered in Switzerland to make good contacts with all non-member countries Awqaf institutions. So I believe we should be in cooperation with المعهد الدولي للوقف الإسلامي to arrange some kind of communication, inshallah. Thank you very much, Brother Zain al-Abidin.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Umar Hafiz. I think you've mentioned quite a few points here, and in particular, the issues surrounding the non-Muslim or the non-member countries of the OIC. And I think that a lot of regulations that are in non-member countries are actually, sometimes we can look at it as an advantage to those countries, where, as the sister from Australia mentioned, that a lot of the regulations of the Charity Trust Act are very similar to the Waqf Act. So I think there is a lot of scope for improvement there as well. But Jazakallah khairan. Can we go on to Dr. Hisham Dafterda, please? Dr. Hisham? Are you there with us?
Unmute your mic, yes.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. First of all, I'd like to thank my dear friend, Dr. Sami Salahat, for organizing this very fruitful and useful forum, and also Dr. my brother Zain al-Abidin for really presiding over this. I would like to give some comments on some of the discussions which I heard today. I will start with Malaysia. Now, of course, Malaysia has been very, very innovative and forward in the application of Waqf and Islamic financing and sukuk, and they are very active in also in introducing the corporate Waqf with the Johor Corp allocating some of its shares as Waqf. But on the other hand, there are some contrasts in the Malaysian scene. At least this is how it looks to me. I will elaborate on this. Well, as we have heard from Dr. Amir, the Awqaf properties in Malaysia account for something like 33 1,000 hectares of land. However, everyone knows that this figure is grossly understated. Actually, 33,000 hectares are the official figures, but we know that these figures are not very accurate because according to figures coming out from Johor Bahru state, there are approximately 28,000 hectares of land in that state alone. So there are some awqaf apparently that are not recognized. Maybe this is because the awqaf are under the separate councils of each state, and this is where I find Dr. Amir really has a very challenging job in front of him, because awqaf in every state is under the purview of the what they call it, the State Islamic Council, which also comes under the king or the sultan of that state. And each state, as he mentioned, has its own rules and regulations. So in order to coordinate between all these states, this is a very, very challenging job in its own right. And also there is something else. The use of the word waqf in Malaysia seemed to me as if it is the exclusive right of the government. So if you use the word waqf, straight away, the state religious council will jump on it and will take over that property as being a waqf. I don't know whether this is prevailing till now, but this is what it has been when I've been visiting Malaysia before. So this has really discouraged, with the, let's put it this way, with the awqaf coming under the sultans, this has really, on one hand, it has discouraged people from establishing new awqaf, and if they do so, they establish it under some other name. And on the other hand, being under the the purview of the king or the sultan, it has also protected awqaf from predators and trespassers and encroachers. So this is some of my observations about, and I stand to be corrected on all of these. Now, of course, Singapore follows the same structure as far as having what they call a state religious council, MUIS with a U instead of an A or whatever. But Singapore has been a good model really for development, and the model of Singapore has always been really cited in most of the literature on developing awqaf, with the development arm of the MUIS in Singapore, Waris, and they've been very successful really in developing awqaf properties. And lately, the most cited one is the issuing of Musharaka shares for the Bencoolen heritage properties in Singapore. So Brunei also actually, it comes under the same, the same structure with the religious council also taking charge of awqaf. Brunei, of course, is blessed by being a rich country with very few people, and the government is taking really active interest in awqaf, and the awqaf every year is getting more and more attention from the government, and more development is on its way. And their awqaf assets are not only mosques and madrasas and cemeteries, but they are also including residential, commercial, real estate as well. In Southeast Asia, again, Indonesia, and we've been lately, involved with Indonesia in Indonesia, with its 274 million people, which is the fourth most populous country after China and India and the United States, but it is also the most populous Islamic country, and probably it is the richest in natural and agricultural resources. Now, we've often heard that the Awqaf properties in Singapore, that if they account for more than 14,000 square kilometers, which if they are put all side by side, they will cover a country which is more than Singapore. So be it, but still a lot of this huge spread of Awqaf remains very much underdeveloped and the figures that came, these are not my figures, by the way, these figures came from Badan Awqaf Indonesia, which is the Awqaf organization or the Awqaf Authority of Indonesia, which reported not long ago that the annual income was something like $370,000 US dollars and so on, which really accounts for less than 1% for such a huge spread of Awqaf, which means that there is a lot of development that needs to be done in that country. And alhamdulillah, now there is renewed interest in Awqaf by government at all levels. Even the central bank, Bank Indonesia, which is the central bank of the country, is taking now active interest, and we were involved, myself and Brother Zainul, in some of their committees for establishing corporate governance for Awqaf and also for risk management of Awqaf, because their aim really that Awqaf should be merged with the Islamic financial markets. And this is something that should be all over the world. I don't see why Awqaf should always be on the periphery or being ignored as if it's something, and Awqaf are left to beg for money, where Awqaf is a very rich sector in its own right. I speak also very briefly about the Philippines. Of course, there isn't much to be said there, but as we mentioned, with 15 million Muslims there, this is quite a sizable concentration of Muslims, especially, they are in the south of the country, concentrated mainly in the two islands of Sulu and Mindanao. But again, you see, luckily in the Philippines, with the Spanish conquest and later on with the American occupation, the south of the country and the Muslims have virtually not been touched except for the later siege on Marawi, and Muslims were left to do their own. So there is a lot of work that Muslims need to do there in order to really improve their Awqaf and to develop it as we go along. Briefly in Thailand being again a non-Muslim country, they do not have any specific law that govern Awqaf, and the committee, there is a committee which is under the king. They do have some regulations that have been coming to regulate the Awqaf sector, but there are also some laws like the Thai civil and commercial law, and there is the Royal Act and the law concerning the Islamic registration and so on. These are all helping the sector to develop there, and there has been some tolerance towards that. I speak briefly also about Australia being, the westernized country in the Asian culture, but the size. I want to state this because I'm very much related to Australia. Australia, it has the largest Islamic Muslims in non-Muslim countries, in Western countries. Okay, and also the economic conditions of Muslim households in Australia are in a better position when they are compared with other Western countries. And also, the one thing, as Sister Arawa has mentioned, the Australian government registers Islamic Waqf under the Charity Act, which has rules which are not too dissimilar from Waqf. But the good thing is that Australia has a policy which is called the multi-ethnic and multicultural policy, which really accommodates Muslims as well as non-Muslims. And Australia lately has been very cooperative with many of the organizations, and I do have the honor of heading one of them in New South Wales, and they do grant tax exemption. This is, to these to many of these organizations. They do give them tax exemption, and not only to the organizations, but also to the donors. They allow them also to deduct what they donate from their income tax. So this is really, a great concession on behalf of the Australian government towards Awqaf for Muslims in that country. I will just want to summarize something about what I heard about the challenges. Now, except, as we say, for Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei, the rest of Awqaf in Southeast Asia are minorities in their countries. However, the issues and challenges are predominantly the same everywhere. There are, the first, of course, is the staffing issue. There are staffing issues, the expert issues to run Awqaf. Awqaf need not only religious and pious people, but also needs people with experience how to manage this treasure, this wealth that we have, under our feet. There are financial issues. There are asset management issues. Many of the properties to date, they remain undeveloped or underdeveloped at best. There are issues regarding the authentication and registration of Awqaf, because unless this is done properly, Awqaf will be lost, as many Awqaf had been lost throughout Islamic history. And then, of course, they need the enabling legal environment, the corporate governance. There are issues there. There is knowledge and awareness. There are compliance issues as well. These are common. We've heard it from so many of the speakers in this forum and in other fora as well. However, one thing that is noteworthy is the different ethnicities of Muslims in this part of the world. There are the Thais, the Malays, the Chinese, the Indians, and where we all profess and we celebrate our cultural and ethnic diversity, we reveal to ourselves and to others the spirit that guides us and unite us together under Awqaf, which is our most precious heritage, and it is the hallmark of our civilization. So let us protect it. Let's develop it. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Hisham Taftirdar. I must apologize for my camera because it seems that it hasn't been transmitting on correctly. But we actually have run out of time. There are a few questions that people have posed, and I don't know, from the organizers, from Dr. Mustafa and Dr. Sami, what the feeling is, and also from the other attendees and the panelists. So I'd just like to get some indication of what the feeling is, because we can probably go on for another 10 minutes or so, but we were supposed to finish off at 4:15, or Makkah time, 4:15. It's now 27 minutes past 4. So
if you can take it, brother Zainul, if you can take 10 minutes,
okay.
5 minutes for discussion and other 1 minute to each speaker, please.
Okay. Okay. Look, there isn't much time, so maybe if we can go around 1 minute each to each speaker, so their overall evaluation of the discussion that took place, the comments that were made by the respondents. Maybe I would also just like to mention a few questions, issues that have arisen. You have seen on the Q&A, people have been asking for statistics. People have been also asking for more information about the various investments in the different countries, the issues about cash waqf and so forth, statistics again, how much is actually being collected and so forth. So there seems to be overall a general problem with statistics and information regarding the numbers of land, the extent of the land, the amount of money that is being collected. There's also, there seems to be that banks are beginning to be collecting cash waqf as well. How that is being distributed and managed and so forth is also a question. And then the overall corporate governance of Awqaf institutions is also under the spotlight. And we need to look at an international sort of monitoring group maybe as to what is really happening in the Waqf sector. But let's go to each of the speakers again, and I'm going to start again with Dr. Shamsiya, Dr. Rawa, Dr. Henry, Dr. Abdurrahman Haki, Dr. Anwar, then Muhammad Sabri, and Dr. Amir from Malaysia. Can we proceed in that way, please? Dr. Shamsiya, 1 minute to each speaker.
Yes, Assalamualaikum, Bismillah. Yes, there has been a very wide discussion in each country. Yes, I would like to see that the Waqf development is being even, being reach out to a larger community. There has been many Waqf public education being done. But I guess we can speed this process up with the advent of the fintech technology, where a lot of the people can now participate in Waqf. It used to be very concentrated on the governmental, aspect. But I think going forward with social media and the fintech technology, Waqf can actually expand beyond what has been traditionally been administered. Yeah, thank you. A wonderful. Thank you to the organizers.
Thank you, Dr. Shamsiya. Jazakallah. Dr. Rawa.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Zainal Abidin. I really appreciate your facilitation to this auspicious conference, and I really thank all the organizers. I would like to thank Dr. Omar and Dr. Hisham for their really fruitful comments that they did today. I just want to mention something that that Dr. Hisham, I think, mentioned about Australia. He's right that Australia grants exemptions of tax to the donors and to the non-for-profit organization. And by the way, we have around 80,000 charity organizations between Muslim and non-Muslim in Australia. It's really a huge number. And we have a lot of facilities in this level. But I just want to clarify something. Probably when I was presenting, I misexplained this stuff. So I did not say that the government put the Waqf under charitable trust. I was proposing this. I was suggesting that we can do it as the charitable trust, and I really hope that the Islamic organization here in Australia, and especially here in Sydney and New South Wales, can do and follow the steps of charitable trust and have this body as a CNC on the top to be able to give Waqf their its proper governance and management and transparency as the charitable trust of Australia, which is the Australian law. I hope we can do that. I'm not sure why the Muslim organization doesn't. We have just a few organizations that they are registered under ACNC, and I'm hoping that we can do it as wide as bigger than the level. We have to work a lot about that, and subhanallah, there are a lot of misconceptions around Waqf as the other countries, so around awareness and education, because all of the people that they think Waqf, it's just about masajid, about religious purposes, and we have to work really hard to be able to get to this level. But alhamdulillah, we have a law here in Australia, and we can use the charitable trust to be able to work really freely. I'm not sure what's happening inside the organization, the Muslim organization. I personally, I was on the board of trustees of Islamic Relief Australia, and we have Islamic Relief worldwide, and I know in Australia we don't have the Waqf here as Islamic Relief service in the Islamic Relief charity service, but we have in the Islamic Relief worldwide in UK, and I believe it's really successful, and they are obeying and implementing the charitable trust in UK, which is very similar to the common law here in Australia. So thank you so much for everything, and I really appreciate all the efforts of the speakers today and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sorry to be cutting people's time down, but we are really running out of time. So Dr. Henry Tanjung, your 1 minute.
Okay, I will answer the question about the as there are so much bank that play a role in cash Waqf, is it possible to build our own Waqf bank? And if it is possible, what should be prepared? So as I mentioned, there are 23 Islamic banks that receiving cash Waqf in Indonesia, but the problem is our Waqf law cannot allow the bank to be Nazir. So the role of bank just receiving cash Waqf, and then they maintain as cash in the bank with the owner of the Nazir. So if you want to make it bank as a Nazir, we should make amendment for that one. for the Waqf law in Indonesia, and we have made the amendments and we have submitted to the stakeholders, and inshallah there will be a new Waqf law in Indonesia for that one. And as I inform you, next week inshallah the President Republic of Indonesia will launch Cash Waqf movement. So this is a big movement to enhance the cash waqf for all the people in Indonesia. And last December, our Ministry of Religious Affairs has launched the Waqf movement in the Ministry of Religious Affairs, and it collected around 4 billion rupiah cash waqf. So I think Indonesian Waqf movement inshallah will be bigger and advanced in the next couple of years. I think that's my statement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jazakallah. Thank you, and we're really looking forward to that big cash waqf movement in Indonesia. Dr. Abdurrahman Haqiq, your 1 minute.
Okay, thank you, Brother Zainal. That in Brunei Darussalam, the successful governance practices of Council, as we mentioned, MUIB, and Badan Tanmiyah, that enable them to generate high income and benefit the people from income of Waqf property and direct financial assistance from the government, as it is correctly mentioned by Brother Hisham. And there is much potential that MUIB and Badan Tanmiyah need to address in managing the development and investment of Waqf property in Brunei. Although the development and investment of Waqf real estate has to face many challenges, the Council and the Badan Tanmiyah have been seen as positive and proactive in resolving issues that have been around for a long time. Overall, the awareness and cooperation of all parties is essential in helping the increase and the potential for development of the Waqf in Brunei Darussalam. This is Brother Zainal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Also, Dr. Mustafa, if you can, do you want to speak on behalf of Dr. Anwar Radamoda again? Dr. Mustafa?
No, thanks, brother. I don't have a comment.
Okay, you're passing. Okay, Mohammed Sabri, Dr. Mohammed Sabri, do you want to make a comment? Final comment?
Yes, I would like to comment this. I saw the comment is about what's the last statistic of a Waqf asset and Waqf rent in Thailand. I would like to answer this question because this is the encouragement process that the stakeholders have tried to encourage the Masjid Committee to collect all information about the Waqf data, Waqf lands, and Waqf income. How many revenues that they got in every month. This is how that the Thai Muslim in Waqf management don't know about can't evaluation. We cannot evaluate for the next step to improve the Waqf management in Thailand. So this is the first priority, is collecting the data, and also this the efforts of the stakeholder is the Waqf institution that we try to establishing the Waqf institution to represent the new methods of the Waqf investment for the Thai people, because this is as for the Thai people, they're strictly in the Mazhab Shafi'i, so we have to go deeper. We have to move a little bit into the initial ideas of the new method of the Waqf investment to give him the knowledge about the Waqf investment and also the importance of the potential of Waqf to the society. Okay.
Okay. Professor Amir.
All right. Thank you, Brother Zainal Abidin. Okay, this year in Malaysia, we will issue or release our 5-year strategic plan to develop Waqf, and we are very committed to bring the management of Waqf in Malaysia to greater heights. And inshallah, with the participation from Islamic financial institution in Malaysia and also from the Religious Council, even though Dr. Hisham said that maybe this discourage people because of the constraint from the Religious Council of Malaysia, but we will continue to work within the framework. And I think the point is that we need to enhance or improve the leadership of a Waqf institution. If we appoint a caliber, a good manager, inshallah, we can drive Waqf to be a more better and more prosperous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jazakallah khairan, and that concludes all the 7 speakers. And I would just like to make 2 or 3 comments. So the first thing is I would like to say it is really very, very encouraging to hear all the reports and the issues from all the various speakers, to see the progress taking place and how the Waqf sector is actually growing in all the different countries. Yet with all these challenges that we have, we are still in the process of an upward swing, I can see. So that is, I think, to all of us, must be very, very encouraging. I think one of the major challenges that I think that needs to be addressed at an international level is this issue about education. And I think that more really needs to be done, collectively from all the Waqf institutions, organizations, to produce more social media, to produce more videos, to produce more little literature, to encourage ulama to speak about this at our mosques, and to have more programs across the board. So I think that's going to be a very important part, because everywhere we see the same kind of issue about education. So I hope that we can address that in some way in collaboration with both OIC member countries and the non-member countries as well. And lastly, I'd like to thank every one of you, all the attendees, all the participants, all the panelists, the respondents, Dr. Umar Hafiz, Dr. Hisham Dafterdat, also organizers, Dr. Sami Salahat, our engineers, and Brother Mustafa there in the background as well. And lastly, I think there's a request that everybody switch on their videos so that we can take a photograph of everybody smiling on this very happy occasion. Unfortunately, I can't switch on my video, or I can, but something's not right on my camera, so it's not appearing on the screen. But if everybody else can do that, especially our speakers and panelists out there.
Okay.
Dr. Mustafa, have you got it? Dr. Mustafa?
I think it's done.
It's done. Okay. So with that, then we are closing. And I would, Dr. Sami, would you like to say something at the last word?
No, thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, sisters.
Okay. Barakallahu fikum. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanallah wa bihamdika. Wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And keep up the good work.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Brother Janul. Thank you, Brother Sami Salahat.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the organizer. Thank you. Hello, Dr. Nahdi. How are you?
Fine. Apa kabar Ustaz Abdurrahman Haki?
Baik. Alhamdulillah sehat. Bagaimana Bogor? Oke.
Red zone. Bogor red zone untuk COVID.